In this video, we're going to talk about the Fujifilm XF 23mm f2 lens. Hey guys, my name is Tim and welcome to my channel. So for $449 USD, what can this lens get you? High versatility with some limitations, which we'll talk about later, but first let's get into build quality. Like all other XF line lenses, the 23mm has a full metal construction exterior. It's built like a tank, weighing in at only 180 grams. This thing is super lightweight, and with a size of 6 centimeters long by 5.2 centimeters wide, this lens is super light and compact, so it's ideal for all-day shooting and if you want to stay inconspicuous. Being one of the newer XF lenses, it does come with a newer Aperture Ring, which is a lot more tactile with a lot of feedback and tends to lock better in place than the older lenses such as the 56 f1.2. The focus ring is nice and smooth and I enjoy the throw that it provides. Note that this lens is focused by wire, meaning the ring will continuously spin without a stop. I know that a lot of people find this super annoying, but for me personally, I don't mind it too much. You can only manual focus in single focus or manual focus mode. Fortunately, this lens is weather resistant, meaning you can shoot this outside in the elements with full confidence without getting moisture or dust inside the lens. And finally, it comes with a plastic lens hood that I quite enjoy myself. I think it looks quite nice and slick. The way it puts on is quite nice and fitted. What I love about this lens hood is that it's very low profile, but at the same time, it does its job in blocking light from hitting the sensor at an angle, which causes flaring. Okay, so before we continue, I just want to say that this review isn't a super technical one where we'll be shooting a wall for a sharpness test as well as distortion and vignetting. This will be more based on my real-world experience and my personal thoughts on it. Alright, now let's talk about image quality. Overall, this lens is super sharp, even at wide open at f2, with a minor caveat which we'll get to in just a second. I'll say for this lens, the sharpness peaks at around f4 to f5.6 in the center and from corner to corner. For my type of photography, I have it wide open at f2 all the way up to 5.6 and maybe even 7 sometimes. Ranging from portraits to street photography. Yes, I shoot a lot of portraits with this lens and I love it. As long as you know the limitation of it, then this lens is actually great for that. So where this lens falls short, as many of you know, is that when shot wide open at the minimum focus distance, the images will turn out blindingly soft to the point where it's problematic if your shot has a very defined edges, such as text. To fix this, you either have to stop down the aperture. At f2.8, it corrects this quite noticeably. At f4, it's almost gone, and by f5.6 and above, this fixes it completely. The other way to resolve this is to take another step or two back when shooting wide open from the minimum focus distance, so you can sidestep the issue altogether. But this might not be an ideal solution depending on the situation that you're facing. Otherwise, the softness issue is in fact the biggest negative of this lens. So in terms of the bokeh, being an f2 lens, it won't be as creamy or smooth as its bigger brother, which is a f1.4, or the Filtrox or Tokina f1.4 that just came out recently also. However, I find the bokeh quality of this lens to be very nice and it's good for my usage, as when I use this lens, it's usually for environmental shoot anyway, so I don't need to blur everything to the oblivion and I want to have some context to the shot. So it really comes down to knowing to use the right tool for the right job. Okay, so now let's move on to the performance of this lens. This lens is a 35mm equivalent, making a classic documentary lens. And in my opinion, this is one of the most versatile focal length that you can shoot with, ranging from portraits, pets, documentary, events, and maybe landscape. The motor is knee silent when focusing, so it's perfect for those situations where you need to remain quiet. And because of this, it's great for video work as well, where you won't be hearing motor sounds when autofocusing. I take this lens with me everywhere I go, and this includes traveling to overseas and hiking up in the mountains, all the way to doing shoots for events and street photography. When traveling light and compact is a requirement, I pack the essentials only when it comes to my kit needing to be kept as minimal as possible, and this lens is almost always with me as it fits the bill perfectly. I've fit this lens in all spaces that you can think of. I've chucked this in the tiny compartments of my backpack, hiking pack, jacket pocket, pocket of my pants, purses, inside the hood of a hoodie. Now, I don't mistreat my gears and I actually try to baby them whenever possible, but to be honest, the places I take this lens to just doesn't allow me to do that most of the time. And this lens is definitely the one I treat the roughest, and yet to this day it is still as good as new with little to no wear and tear. I can say this lens along with the other f2 lineup is super durable, and it gives me the confidence I need for when things gets rough and with everything happening super quick during a shoot. Now, having this lens been weather resistant, I've put it through hell and back. I've shot this in the snow, in clubs, in rainy, moisty conditions, and even inside of swimming pools where this lens got splashed on plenty. Anything you can think of, I've probably shot it with this lens before. Could the f1.4 lenses shoot in those conditions? They probably could, but I wouldn't put it through heavy usage in those situations. And with this one, I can definitely shoot all day with the peace of mind that I know nothing will get damaged to the lens or the body. For street photography, I definitely find this focal length to be my favorite for my style of shooting. And for portrait work, I definitely like to use this lens for environmental portraits, where I like to include the background without blurring it too much. Another one that I love to use is the 16mm f1.4, which we'll get into in a different video. Okay, so here are my final thoughts of this lens. If you need a lens that can do it all, this may be it for you. You can shoot almost anything with this lens, with the caveat of knowing its limitation. If you need to keep your kit light, this is a great choice, as you can shoot all day with it without feeling fatigued. And also because of the size, you can stay inconspicuous if you're doing things like street photography. And because of how fast autofocus is, you're going to find yourself getting more shots that are in focus. Now, if you're looking for super creamy bokeh, this lens is definitely not for you because of two reasons. One, because the images are super soft when you're shooting at the minimum focus distance. And two, having its widest aperture at f2, you're just not going to be able to compare it with those f1.4 lenses, which is a stop faster. And combine that with the first point, you're just not going to get really good bokeh because you can't be really close to your subject. So if getting the best bokeh is your first priority or is important to you, then I would highly recommend you looking at the f1.4 options, or if shooting at the minimum focus distance is important. This lens may also not be for you if shooting in low light is one of your requirements, since again, the f1.4 options are definitely better for that, as they'll grant you an extra stop of light. But otherwise, I would actually deem this to be the most versatile lens in the Fujifilm XF lineup. And because for its price point, I feel like it pushes its value up even higher for what it is, making it almost a must-have. Anyways guys, that's it for now. If you made it this far, kudos to you. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you think of this lens in the comment section down below. And if you want to see more content like this, please do consider subscribing. But until the next one, peace.